WolfPunch.
Okay, everybody, hello. Welcome to WolfPunch's second episode of Tales from the Pack. I'm Kyle, and I'm here with Dan.
Hi.
And Michael Kemp.
Howdy.
And we are doing part 2 of our Alien franchise retrospective. First episode, we talked about Alien and aliens. Now we're getting into the fun stuff.
Yeah,
Alien 3
ones.
and Alien Resurrection.
You'll notice a distinct turning point in the series from this point on.
Yeah. Controversial films.
To say the least. Going back and rewatching them after all these years, it was interesting to see how they played up to expectations and stuff, because I had seen the uncut ones a few years ago on DVD, but I remember watching them. I think Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection were like the first Alien films I watched, because they were like reruns on FX or something. I was home from school, just being like, oh fuck it, I've never seen these before, I'll pop them on. And yeah, like, it's kind of always like what I associated more of like aliens with, these sort of like weird, dark, and in the second Resurrection's case, more schlocky thing, where you can see how people developed a negative connotation for the franchise after that, versus the stark contrast of like the slasher, methodical, slow-paced version of the first movie, and the bombastic action film of the second one.
Yeah, these movies, I think they both get like gradually cheesier. Alien 3 is like all over the place.
I think we disagree on this a bit, because I don't think Alien 3 is cheesy.
I agree too. I don't think it's cheesy.
I think it is in the third
I think it's
act.
misguided.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference between being misguided and like falling into like the cheesy schlock of what just Resurrection wallows in.
Resurrection is pure schlock. I think that there are like, and we'll talk about it as we go on.
Okay,
but I think
we'll get there.
there are moments of Alien 3.
Let's put that idea in the cryotube for now.
Nice. So we'll start off with Alien 3. Dan, you finally get to talk about a David Fincher movie.
Jesus Christ, it has to be Alien 3.
Yeah. Well, just like David Fincher, you've got to start somewhere.
That's very well. I mean, he already started like directing videos for Madonna, and before that, working at ILM, doing like matte paintings for Return of the Jedi and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this Alien 3, for those of you that don't know, is David Fincher's first feature film. For those of you that don't know who David Fincher is, he is an incredibly talented director who made Fight Club, Seven, Zodiac, The Social Network. Very meticulous, very critically applauded filmmaker.
If you don't know who he is, it's impressive that you're listening to a podcast about movies.
Given how pretentious we are about the films we talk about.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, he's easily by and far my favorite director of all time. But this does not feel on any level like a David Fincher film. But before we get too much of that, I guess we should introduce what the movie's about, its general tone, and what it's trying to do.
Yes.
Before we put the boots to it. So this is a direct continuation of Aliens after Ripley saves the day and goes into cryosleep with Hicks and Newt to live to fight another day, or so we think. And the movie, which this is the one thing I actually really love about it, is it just shits all over that. It's just immediately like, fuck you. Audience expectations, you want to see more fun, crazy, like space war alien adventures with your favorite? No, fuck you. It starts with the two of the main characters from Aliens dying off screen pretty horrifically. Newt, the little girl that they found and saved on LV-426, drowns in her cryotube. And they actually perform a really gory autopsy of her body later. And then Michael Biehn's character, Hicks, has a steel beam impale him and literally mangulate his corpse. It's just guts and blood and shit everywhere.
Yeah, because Michael Biehn didn't want his likeness. There was an interview with him where like he found out that he wasn't going to be in the movie because like development of this project was.
Oh, we'll get to the development of that.
Yeah,
my
it's just in his defense. Like for a brief moment, he was going to be the main character of Alien 3.
Yeah,
and then like he was telling a story in an interview where like he got a phone call from somebody who was like, "Oh, I saw like a dummy of you like at the studio for Alien 3, like." And the chest burster, like, it came out of your chest, and he was livid, where he was like, are you serious? Like, I'm dead, the alien bursts out of me, and then like, and he talked to his agent, where he was like, can they do this? This is my likeness. And then they retorted, and they were like, no, you can't use his likeness. So they mangled his corpse, And then they decided to show a photo of him on the screen because they were like, well, we've got to show who that was. So then Michael Biehn was like, all right, now you can fucking pay me. Now you can pay me. Because, like, he... At first they offered him money to, like, have the alien burst out of his chest. And he was like, no fucking way. And then in the interview, he was like, had I known David Fincher was going to be David Fincher, I would have let him use my likeness for free just to be in, like, one of his movies.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, older and wiser, since it's like, oh, fuck, this kid actually grew up to be, like, one of the most prolific, you know, directors of our time. And here I was crying about money. Yeah. My career is dead. Yeah,
it was actually, like, a really, like, funny interview where he was like, even in that, like, he was talking about, well, they offered me a lot of money to, like, show my corpse, and he was like, no. And then he was like, because I was an idiot.
Yeah.
But he got paid.
He got paid. Just like everyone in this movie did. But, all right, getting back to the plot of the film.
Yeah.
So, the escape pod jettisons with the cryotubes. It crashes. Newt and Hicks are dead in the crash. Ripley is the only survivor. She gets rescued, and she ends up on, it's Fury
161 or something?
Fury and then some fucking number, who cares?
Yeah.
But it's a prison planet that is just vacated. It used to be like a smelting depot or something, a big factory. Who fucking cares again? But now it's just kept as like a prison area where they put criminals there to hang out. And so now Ripley is stuck there until Weyland-Yutani can come pick her, or she can be evacuated from the site. I think it's 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, there's also a chest or a face hugger that happens, depending on which version you watch, that infects an ox or a dog. And now there's an alien running around on a prison planet where no one has weapons. And it's only guys, and now the whole metaphorical thing of, like, fear about rape, you know, with the aliens impregnating you, now that's a little bit more literal with the prisoners, and Ripley being the only woman there.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, is it a darker take on the material. Like, we deal with so many things with, like, violence, like occultism to an extent, survivor's guilt. That's a huge theme of this movie, especially in the extended cut, assembly cut, where Ripley just feels really fucking shitty and suicidal about being the only one to survive the last film, basically, and having to be in this movie in a way.
Yeah. Alien 3 is... It's not the scariest of the franchise, but it is the darkest. In fact, it's one of the darkest franchise movies I can think of at all, where it just so blatantly is like, fuck everything fun about the last movie, we're going to get really dark and dour.
Yeah. And I kind of respect it a lot for doing that.
I respect that, but it's like only if what you do is worth shitting all over. Like,
I feel like there is the blueprint for something that is worth it. Like, there's beats of this story that work very well, and I think we're all kind of like in agreement. We really enjoyed the first act of the film. Yeah, that's like the first act. There's almost like a scene in particular where once that happens, from that point on, we're just kind of feeling a bit disconnected with it. But I like the introduction. I like the setup and premise. I even like how it ends with Ripley like coming to terms and having to sacrifice her stuff. I mean, spoilers obviously for a film that's
from 1992.
Yeah, something. So fuck it. But how she has to basically take her own life to save the day and come to terms with everything that she's done.
Yeah.
And in that regard, it's really interesting and to an extent fitting close for the character and the franchise, which people didn't like, but still on certain levels worked despite lots of other things not working in the film.
Here's something I'm curious about, though. So were people, when this came out, were people upset that Ripley died at the end?
People were just upset about everything.
I know they were upset about everything, but was that something that people were upset about?
I don't know.
I mean, I definitely agree with Sigourney Weaver. I know I watched interviews where she said, like, this was the lot, like, she had to die in this movie because she can't just keep waking up.
It's funny you mentioned that because, like, she said that, but then also, like, years later, she kind of, like, backpedaled on that, too. It's like, I just don't feel like this is a fitting end for her. So I feel like it might have been, like, at the time she thought it'd be a good way to send off her character, but then after the reception of everything being really negative, she was like, she shouldn't have gone out that way kind of thing.
Also, I mean, to be fair, Sigourney Weaver wanted Ripley to die in, like, Aliens.
Oh, really?
She was, like, ready to kill that character off for a while now. I think the more involved she gets with the stories, the worse they kind of get. But it is weird, like, so Alien 3 went through a lot of different pitches.
Yes.
like Walter Hill and David Giler didn't want to do a sequel, really. I can't remember how they got roped into it. And there were some really interesting ideas. Like I liked like one of my problems with the Alien franchise is with every movie past Alien, like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation's obsession with the xenomorph becomes more and more ridiculous to me. And so like they were going to do like a story, Alien 3, Ripley was going to be in a coma, and it was going to focus on Hicks and Bishop, and it was going to be like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation wanted the xenomorph for like a biological weapons division because they were in sort of like a space Cold War with like space Marxists, which sounds goofy, but I was like, this could have been kind of cool. And then they were going to do like Alien 4 right afterwards, and Ripley was going to come back as the main character, and they were going to find the alien homeworld, which was a concept that people were interested in for a long time. Like Rennie Harlan was attached to direct the movie for a while, and he really wanted to do a story about the alien homeworld. And then when it was like way too much money to even produce, like he dropped out. And then Vincent Ward had like a really weird idea, but a lot of it winds up in Alien 3, where he wanted to do a wooden planet full of monks with like a medieval kind of setting, and Ripley crash lands, and they don't like her because she's a woman, and they don't want to be tempted because they took like a vow of chastity, and they like, put her in like a prison cell, and then the alien starts killing them. And I think it even has the like his concept had Ripley had an alien queen in her chest, and then she was originally going to die, and then the studio didn't like that, so the monks were going to like form an operation on her, and she was going to be fine. And then I don't know, maybe they realized that the wooden planet idea was stupid.
Yeah. Really?
And
a wooden planet is fucking stupid?
You might say. And the studio really was like dead set on Alcatraz in space with the alien. So they just sort of like combined those ideas and like fired Vincent Ward and stuff.
Yeah. Basically, it was a clusterfuck from the time the actual production of the movie started.
Yeah.
I think
this is one of those films that the production of the movie is kind of more interesting than the movie itself.
Yes. It's one of those things you can't get around talking about it without, addressing it, like when you talk about the film. Because I think they spent something stupid like $8 million on sets that they didn't even use in the film itself.
So what you mean to say is this is one of the few movies where the production is about as depressing as the movie itself.
Yeah. Because like they hired on David Fincher without even a finished shooting script, it's just kind of like, oh, we got these sets, we got these characters, let's go to town. And from day one, basically from the very start, they fought, the producers of the film, Fox, fought Fincher for control, like, over the smallest, dumbest things ever.
He had to send them, like, dailies every day of, like, what he shot and get everything approved. And as we've talked about, Fincher is almost on, like, a Kubrick level of, like, doing take after take after take.
Yeah.
But the studio had already announced that the movie was going to come out in 92, like, before they even started shooting. So they were like, you got to hurry up. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep moving.
And they kept getting pissed off about budgetary stuff, too, even though they had to shoot, like, millions of dollars of retakes or reshoots after, like, initial production wrapped. And it was just a whole mess. I forget Charles Dance's character in the movie, but originally it was supposed to be... Clemens was supposed to be played by, like, a much younger actor that Fincher was hoping for, and they completely nixed that.
This is the one thing that I kind of side on the studio.
No, I do agree with that too, because Charles Dance,
he's the best part of the movie.
He is. He's fucking terrific.
Yeah.
But it even went so far as like there were scenes where Fincher absconded with a camera and Sigourney Weaver to film on his own without the studio, and ended up making in the damn film itself. So it's ridiculous.
One of the most iconic scenes in Alien, where the alien's like right up close to the head.
Yeah, I don't know. This movie is just, it's so frustrating because there are like so many things about it that are like actually really cool, and then some that like they just don't work enough for me to like them.
It's frustrating because like you see the parts that work and you think it could have been something so much better, and also because of the troubled production of it, it's like, oh, this isn't the original vision, this is not what they intended to be. But also like Fincher has all but like in name disowned this film to the point that he won't even talk about it, so you don't even really know like what his original intention was for it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to wonder what his original intention, if he even had one, really. If he came to a movie that didn't even have a finished script. I mean, if other people are writing the script, he's just kind of giving his input.
Absolutely, because, I mean, I think he was something like in his late 20s or something.
Yeah, I think he was like 26, I think they
26,
said.
27. Yeah, that was another thing. He was really young, so no one respected him on set. You know, I think he's this young upstart, but, like, he's really enthusiastic, you know. He's, like, a big fan of the franchise. This is his big break, but he's also used to, you know, choreographing things very specifically from his history with music videos and whatnot, and knows how to use technology and special effects from his time at ILM. So on paper, it sounded like a perfect fit. Just the studio didn't know they hired David fucking Fincher because David Fincher wasn't David Fincher yet.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with this movie is David Fincher wasn't David Fincher. He didn't have the rep.
You don't hire David Fincher to save money on your film. That's the opposite thing you do.
No.
But I guess just getting into the movie itself, like, what do you guys think worked best, like, leading into it? Because we talk about the first act especially. What do you guys like most about that?
Okay, so this is not really a tangent, but this is applicable. Part of my problem with horror movies is it's really, really tricky to do character hierarchy. Because it's like, to me, like, once you get to a certain age, movies stop scaring you, and it's just you get the tension of caring about characters, and so you want to worry about them, and you want to like them. And in like, when you turn horror movies into a franchise and you have, like, hero characters, it's really, really tricky territory because you don't really want to just, like, see them get killed off, but you also don't want to have, like, no tension.
They need to be fallible.
They need to be fallible, and they need to be to some extent expendable. So it's like there's something really annoying to me of, like, it bothered me the first time I watched Alien 3, and it honestly kind of even still bothers me now that, like, Hicks and Newt and Bishop are dead by the beginning of the movie. There's something about that where I'm like, this really fucking bothers me, and this movie is not good enough. Like, I know I'm cemented in my idea that this movie is not good enough to justify doing that, but at the same time, I really, really do respect it, where I'm like, personally, my big solution is Aliens is the end of Ripley's story. That's the perfect ending for that character. You don't actually need to bring her back, but because money is money and a name is a name. And it's funny, too, because I'm not even sure how much that was, because they were originally planning on having, even if not Hicks, having a male lead in Alien 3, because they were like, female audiences still haven't been flocking to these, so having a female lead isn't really necessary. And the studio was like, no, fuck that, we need Sigourney Weaver. And it's like, that's fair, but I don't know. They went with the route that they went, where it's like, you're going to do Sigourney Weaver again, and so it's probably for the best that you get rid of the other characters just so you have someone to worry about. But there's not too many likable characters on this planet.
That is a huge thing. And, like, before we get really into that, I will say this is probably the last time in the franchise where they attempted something new with the characters, a new direction for it, that I enjoy the direction in which they chose for it. But we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. As far as, like, the depiction of Ripley goes, like, I'm so sold on, for my money, Ripley is the fucking coolest heroine on film. And Aliens is her real time to shine, because in the first one she's just a person. In the second one she has, like, a cathartic story arc, and, like, she becomes, like, a cinematic hero, and it's a perfect ending for that character. Alien 3 kind of, like, again, you don't want the character to be untouchable. I totally understand. It just gets annoying. Like, look at the Scream movies or something. It gets old. But they also take, like, a big kind of shit on the character in a way where, like, it doesn't ruin it for me, but I could understand how, like, kind of really empowering shit in the third act of Aliens turns into Ripley asking Charles S. Dutton to kill her because she can't bring herself to kill herself, but she's suicidal. And, like, she's almost gets fucking gang raped, and you're like, ugh.
It rides the cusp of being unbelievable, but I think of just how the character progresses, but I think it's more ugly than it is unbelievable in the fact that, yes, you have this great heroine, and they're really just tearing her down. Like, Alien 3 is just, like, a big, shitty dive into despair that no one wants.
Except you and me.
But even then, like,
No, see, like, this is...
That's the thing, though. Like, I do want that. I do want, like, that fucking, nail or, like, what do you call it? Just ripping out your fingernail slowly or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, something under your skin. Just something to really fuck with you and, like, make you feel like shit. But the issue I have with this film is just in the second and third acts, I just stopped caring.
Yeah. See, it's weird because, like, I love despair and misery. Half the time we do a podcast, Dan is like, oh, Kyle didn't like this movie because it's not depressing enough. Yeah. And that's usually true. But I guess Aliens is just like a nice little feel-good movie for me where I'm like, this is lovely. And I don't want to see anything after that.
Like, honestly, the biggest things for me are just like the set pieces fucking suck.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing. Like, they're boring, they're convoluted.
Orange haze.
It
really hurts my eyes.
Yeah, the color palette is just like dingy and awful, which it matches the tone and like the themes of everything. But it's not entertaining to watch. It's not emotionally, I don't want to say manipulative because that sounds negative, but it's not emotionally impactful in any way to watch. It's just characters you barely remember the names of that all look alike, running around in fucking dark tunnels. You don't know who's who, where they are in relations to it. And then
they all look the same, sound the same.
Yeah, maybe the alien pops up, maybe he doesn't, and then it just, some people die and then it just ends.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time watching it, like, all I could think of was like, oh god, I can't wait for like Weyland-Yutani to get here with like guns and stuff, like something big to happen.
Yeah.
But instead, like, we just get these unlikable, awful, shitty rapist criminals, sad fucking characters.
Yeah, see, and it's so frustrating because everything that we're saying, like, these aren't things that I inherently dislike.
They could have worked in another movie.
They could have worked in another movie because I could really, really, like, everything is a catch-22 for me in this movie. While we're getting along the plot, I think Charles Dance is the best actor in the movie and the most interesting character. And he's introduced as, like, a love interest for Ripley. Yeah. And he's kind of like the nicest or most likable guy on this planet.
Outside of Ripley, he's the only one, well, even to an extent, he has the most, I think, fleshed out arc of all the characters in the film. Mm-hmm. But the problem with that is he's only in the film for the first act, or the first half of it.
And then he gets killed.
Like, literally right after you find the big revelation of, like, why he's there, what he did.
Which is a little goofy, where it's like he gets his final monologue and then kabam, he's dead. But at the same time, I also really think ballsy move, where you introduce this new love interest and this likable character, and you fucking kill him off. Yeah. Like, he's one of the first.
That's the thing. Like, you read these beats to me on paper and stuff. Like, I'd be really excited for it. Like, I don't expect this. This is, like, subverting expectations. Like, this is new. This is different. This isn't what I want, but it feels unique.
Yeah. Even in the assembly cut, that guy who works with Fincher all the time, I can't remember his name, he was, there's like a nice little weird gray morality in, he was one of the guys who attempts to rape Ripley. And then, like, Ripley, like, when they're setting up, like, the fire rig to chase the alien, she sees, like, that he helped her drag a guy out of the fire, and, like, she noticed, oh, these two guys tried to rape me, and I just help them. And then the one guy actually winds up sacrificing himself to get the alien to chase him so that they can trap him in that room. And he sacrifices himself for everyone else. And you're like, what a weird, like, gray morality put into this movie of, like, this guy, you're like, this guy is the worst human being in the fucking universe because he's tried to rape Ripley, and it's like bullshit.
The more we talk about it, the more we're just talking about things that, like, actually really work or are awesome, but it's just in such an unappealing dour package. That just,
we're talking about things that should work, that should be really cool.
Aspects of it that just don't feel fully fleshed out to register to being a coherent piece.
Like, I mean, and none of that is even in the theatrical release.
Like, we were talking how we all enjoyed the first, like, hour of the film more than the rest of the film by far, and that was what they added to the most in the quote-unquote assembly cuts of the film, because they really, like, pared it down to just, I guess, fuck characterization. We just gotta get to the aliens.
So the fact, like, towards the end of this movie, there are characters that you don't even see their deaths. There are at least two characters that, like, you don't see really what happens to them. It's just, oh, they're dead. Just trust us. And you don't notice, like, too blatantly because they all fucking look alike.
Everybody's bald. Everyone's got an awful Cockney accent.
And they have those, like, robes on.
And it's, like, part of the problem with, like, killing Charles Dance so early in the movie. It's a ballsy, interesting idea. but there's no one like Dylan to an extent. Charles S. Dutton's character I do like,
yeah.
But for the most part, they're like this isn't like Aliens where, or even Alien where you're like, what a kind of like neat group of characters that I just enjoy watching. This movie doesn't have that. Like fuck 85, fuck the guy from American Werewolf in London, like the fucking like Warden. He's a good actor, but like I mean his character is just so one note. And this is what I'm talking about with schlock, is once Charles S. Dance has his like big monologue of like his dark past, and then like the alien kills him, and then it has this really cheesy scene to me of like the warden is standing in the cafeteria like telling everyone nothing bad is happening, everything is fine, blah blah blah, and then it'll like cut to Ripley running down the hallway frantically coming towards them. And then back to the warden with his speech. And then she runs in and is like, it's here, it's coming, it got Clemens. And then he's in the middle of his, no, you shut up, I'm right, everything is safe. And then the alien, like, gets him from the ceiling. And I'm like, this is cheesy.
I see what you're saying. And I think in, like, I hate to say a lesser movie because that's kind of putting this too much up on a pedestal. But, like, a totally different movie, it would be more pure schlock. It's very, very close to it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just kind of meant as, like, more of a dramatic gotcha kind of horror shock moment. And yeah, those are usually used for like schlockiness sake, but it didn't feel as abrasive as...
Tonally, it didn't feel like a schlocky moment when you're watching it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like just the general mood and atmosphere that they set up throughout the film. Yeah, it is kind of dumb, but it didn't feel outright schlock.
Well, agree to disagree. There are like even some moments of it are like fun to me, like the scene with the big fan, like the first guy to get.
That felt much more schlocky.
That's schlocky, but I don't mind it because you're like, ooh.
The scene we're talking about is there's a prisoner cleaning in like this big tunnel, and there's a giant fan spinning at the end of it. And he like notices a hole and he sticks his head down like, what's going on down here? And the alien spits some acid in his face. And he's like, ah! And he slips backwards and falls into the fan. And that's the thing we saw so much about this movie. This movie is gory as fuck.
Yeah.
Like you just see like viscera and guts just spray out just everywhere.
And it's weird.
Didn't they have to tone it down? Like I know they toned down Newt's autopsy.
Yeah, they had to tone down. Oh, that's horrible. Like.
It's a great scene.
Show the whole thing.
A very uncomfortable.
You just hear like meat crunching. And Charles Dance, great actor, but I mean, he has the face of an evil man. And that like blue, like dour lighting, and he's like cutting open a child, and like, what are we doing? And it's like
even he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?"
Yeah, it's like such a it's a good scene where you think when you think. Maybe this movie's gonna pull it off. Like in moments like that, child autopsy. Yeah. That's what we like.
Yeah. Know your audience.
Yeah. But I don't know. And I think that like the end, like everyone on the planet is just so stupid.
Yeah,
like,
they're all kind of idiots.
Because there is something to be said for like I know this was a big thing with Sigourney Weaver where like she tried to talk James Cameron out of having guns in Aliens. Which is ridiculous. And then she tried to talk him out of having Ripley use guns. And, you know, James Cameron is James Cameron. Like,
you think he's going to listen to a woman?
Yeah.
That's completely true.
But by the time the studio was like so sure they wanted her, they were like, she was like, no guns. No guns this time. And that's not a horrible idea. Because... Like
it makes sense for a prison
plan. It could work either way, you know, where it's like you could do guns and you could do something interesting with that, but at the same time, it's like you're not gonna out aliens. So if you want to take it in a completely different direction, where people have to like fend for themselves, that could work. Yeah. Except there's not a lot of problem solving in this movie. These characters, their plan, pretty much both times, is just. We have the alien chase us, and then we trap it in something.
Well, to be fair, the plan actually worked the first time, though.
Yeah, it did.
And we are dealing with basically what we assume to be unintelligent, you know, the refuse of society. Just idiot, fucking shitbag criminals.
But it just, again...
It's not entertaining to watch.
It's not... And again, I gotta say, like, kind of schlocky to me, where they're all, like, running down these, like, corridors.
Is that...
I think you just hate British people.
I just hate the British is my problem. I don't know. There's just something good. Like the guy is running with the scissors. He's like, hey, turn him around. You're going to stab somebody. And like, then the two guys like bump into each other and like, I thought you were going to be the alien.
To be fair, like, I kind of like that moment where they just bump into each other and they start laughing their heads off, because that whole set piece at the end where they're trying to trap the alien, the big smelting thing, and kill it. They're going down all these hallways. It's just such a fucking convoluted mess.
Yes.
Like, again,
so at least that part was like somewhat.
I did like that part.
That was a good bit of levity that broke up an otherwise just
boring,
convoluted, messy ass segment that should have been a great climax, but was just kind of like, oh fuck, this is dizzying and annoying.
Yeah. So I will admit there is like I like that little break in the monotony, but it's still like really cheesy to me where they're both like laughing, and then of course the alien is going to show up and kill one of them. It's like, this is horror movie schlock 101. It's just a little. It's beneath the franchise and beneath David Fincher to me.
There's a lot about this.
And don't get me wrong, we're gonna take a big turn on the next movie where it's hard to find moments that aren't schlocky. But
one of the big disappointing things about this movie is, I don't know, like, have you guys seen many like films that were directed by people that like came from music videos? Like, first, like, I forget the director's name, but the guy who made Constantine, that was one of his...
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, that was one of his first feature-length films where he also had a music video background.
I love that.
Something I really distinctly noticed is there's, like, really hyper-stylized shots that work really fucking well, and then there's just other scenes with, like, characters talking and things, like, they just don't know what to do, in the sense that it's, like, the cinematography just gets ugly. It's just, like, a 1-2 shot back and forth, the characters talking, or like the tunnel scene, it just breaks down, you don't know what the fuck is going on. And when initially they're trying to trap the alien, they're laying the gas everywhere to ignite it. You know, when the flare gets dropped or the guy gets killed, there's no slow motion in like hardly any of these films, you know, but there's that one moment of like hyper slow motion as the flare hits it dead on and ignites, and it's one of those moments where you're like, that's really out of place, but like in that very like specific context, I kind of dig it. And even the whole scene with Charles Dance where he gets killed at the end, and then the most iconic scene of probably the entire franchise, where the alien comes face to face with Ripley, and like its face is literally right next to hers, but he backs away because he senses that, spoilers, we've already spoiled the fuck out of this, that she's pregnant with the alien queen. Yeah. And that's why he doesn't attack it. And that's another thing I really like about the whole motif of the film. Yeah. But yeah, it's just great parts and then just messy, awful, convoluted direction.
Even with the cinematography, there are like some really great shots, and then there are some like...
I feel like as the film goes on, it gets more and more ugly.
Well, I know like Fincher had originally hired and wanted to work with the cinematographer for Blade Runner. Yeah. And he had to drop out because what did he have? Like Parkinson's? Yeah. And then I don't know who they got after that.
But you were going to say...
No, I was just going to say, like, but Alien 3, even a lot of the aesthetic to me of, like I hate the big robes at the beginning of the movie. Like, one of the things that I like about the first two that we talked about in our last episode is, like, the blue-collar, like, modern future. Yeah. Where, like, people still wear, like, suits and ties, or, like, they'll wear, like, jumpsuits and, like, Hawaiian t-shirts and stuff. Like, I love all of that. And then this movie throws it all away. Like, I know it's like a but even like the people from the Weyland-Yutani
that's the one instance where I feel like it pushes it way too far because they have these ridiculous fucking shiny like spacesuits and crap. And I get the intent of them trying to be like inhuman, otherworldly, but then it also has like the post-80s like Japanese whole like economic imperialism where they have like, you know, the faceless like Japanese associates there too. Because it's a big evil, they've taken over the global economy bullshit.
And Lance Henriksen got his costume from like Mad Max Fury Road or something. I don't know. It just doesn't, there are things about it that aesthetically like kind of throw me off where I'm like, this doesn't feel like the same franchise anymore.
No. It definitely doesn't. There's moments in it where it felt such like a relief to it when they got back. I think it's the opening montage, and it's the moment where Ripley scans herself and discovers that she has the queen egg in her inside her belly. When it like brings in the more modern technology feel of it, and it's not just this whole rusty fucking tetanus infested factory. Because for one, the opening montage scene is the best part. One of the best parts of the film. I absolutely love it with the music and everything. But
that actually is pretty
when the ship's crashing.
Where it shows like the alien egg coming out and then the fire breaking out. Like I actually, that's one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. But then it's like, when she's doing the whole scan, when it like reintroduces like this technology, it's like you're so like deprived of the sci-fi aspect of it that it's just like, wow, that's fucking cool when you do see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't know, the movie is just so infuriating because there are a lot of cool ideas.
It could have been really, really great if
because literally I said like at one point I remember saying like I think guys this might be my favorite Alien movie.
Oh yeah.
We actually watched this one together, and like,
we were all we weren't quite that level, but like the first as we come back to the first act of the film, we were all just like, fuck, this is better than I remember.
Yeah, we were all full of Pizza Hut and beer, and we just didn't know what was what. We were loving it, and then it took a turn.
Just really unfortunately peters out. Honestly, I would still say to see it for like the good parts that it does do and what it's able to accomplish. Yeah. And it's an interesting film, like coming at it from the perspective of like what could have been versus what actually came to be, and how relatively drastically different the theatrical cut is versus the assembly cut of the film.
Well, I mean, it's even just like it's kind of interesting to like. I would recommend watching it just to say like, oh, if you want to see what happens when studios get involved in movies, watch like Alien 3 and 7 back to back and see what like Fincher does when he's Fincher and Fincher when somebody's breathing down his neck. Mm-hmm. Michael,
I was gonna say like I say to watch it just because I personally like the arc that Ripley goes through. And I like the ending she gets. Like I know a lot of people don't like that ending, but I think like it makes sense for the character. Her riding off in the sunset with being Newt's mother would also have worked for her ending. But I also really like this dour, depressing, like she has to kill herself to kill this monster that's just plagued her for 3 movies.
I see what you're saying. My problem with that, though, it's like it's not horrible. I don't hate the idea. It's just by the end of this movie, I don't give a shit. Like Ripley is not even the most interesting or likable character. Like Charles Dance and Charles S. Dutton are both more interesting characters to me in this movie. Mm-hmm. Ripley is just kind of fucking there. And I don't know, by the time she sacrifices herself, we've already seen so many other people make sacrificial plays. Charles S. Dutton does it right before. Yeah. And then like I don't know. It just doesn't land super hard for me.
Yeah. I think the biggest issue comes down to the fact that the first 2 movies work so fucking well for what they're doing that you just reach a point where it's like, well, now what the fuck we're going to do? Because we're either just going to repeat what they did in those movies, or we're going to try something different that people won't like as much. It's kind of a no-win situation, no matter how you look at it.
I know. And it's like, and I hate to be like the like complaining fanboy on this, because usually I'm like so pro, throw things that like don't apply rules, just tell a good story. It's just Alien 3 has like a lot of cool ideas. Like I do like some ideas of Ripley's arc of like the survivor's guilt, everything being like way darker and dour. I like the idea on paper of there aren't nice people on this planet. They're all criminals and horrible. But I even like the religious aspects of like them trying to better themselves through their faith and then like feeling some kind of like cosmic punishment having this here. But none of it plays out very well. Yeah. It gets so annoying seeing like Dylan is an interesting character, but he keeps making speeches where it's like he starts off eloquent and then he's like, and then we kill this motherfucker. Like it just turns into like, this is funny because like swear words.
It's like a Sam Jackson speech.
Yeah. Except Samuel L. Jackson always really makes it work. It's just there are so many speeches like that in this movie where it's like I'm religious and I say fuck a whole bunch, and it's like this isn't funny or interesting. And then it gets like horribly comical when Sigourney Weaver is like doing her speech and she goes, "The company thinks that we're nothing, that we're crud," and like the 3 of us looked at each other and we were like, crud?
Really? They like reached their swear word.
These are thieves and rapists and murderers over here.
You big poop mouth?
Yeah, like Jesus. It's fucking Garth from Anchorman over here. Jesus.
Yeah, but that's Alien 3.
Alien 3. It's not a horrible movie. I would like it a lot more if it wasn't attached to this franchise. And it's a movie that just has an annoying amount of like potential that goes unrealized.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say though, I'm fucking happy Neil Blomkamp didn't get to make his Alien movie that just erased 3 and 4 because fuck Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, you say that, but it's like
No, I say that with full gusto because that also sets a benchmark that studios can just be like, oh well, people didn't like this movie, so let's just make another one and ignore everything.
I do hate that. I completely agree with everything you're saying.
And also, Neil Blomkamp's a fucking bad director.
I've only seen District 9. And
that was a
like
fluke.
That.
That's the only good film he ever made. But this is a story for another day. Moving on.
Right. That being said, though, I totally would have watched his Alien 5. Totally would have died. I don't care. Everything you're saying is right.
It would have been fucking fan service.
Probably. Yeah, definitely. Everything you're saying is right, but I saw the concept art and I was like, yeah, this has my money if they make it. Like, so what are you going to do? Even I have flaws.
Yeah, I guess.
Speaking of flaws,
moving on.
Let's talk about Alien Resurrection.
Joss Whedon's magnum opus.
Yes.
The one no one was looking forward to watching.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that don't know, this movie was written by Avengers famous Buffy the Vampire Slaying, SJW imitating Joss Whedon.
It sure was.
Hero of women's rights the world over.
Yeah.
And he does not hide his signatures in this movie at all.
Oh my.
No.
His fingerprints are all over this.
They really are. He tries to cry Fincher on this, and I just don't think so.
Yeah. Okay, let's introduce this first before we just get to that part.
Yeah.
So this movie was made, 5 years later?
Yeah, 97.
97. They wanted to bring it back. They wanted to make it more marketable.
Geiler and Walter Hill did not want to bring this back.
That makes me so happy when I heard that.
They didn't with it. They read the script and they were like, this is going to ruin the franchise. But unfortunately, Fox had complete control and they didn't have the ability to stop it. They actually tried to stop this movie.
Yeah, I think there's a quote from Sigourney Weaver that she said, someone asked her, why are you in this movie? And it was Fox literally, backed up a dump truck full of money on my doorstep.
She got paid $11 million.
The budget of the first Alien film, she was paid just to star in this movie.
Yeah.
And
$11 million, and she was an executive producer, again, much like on Alien 3.
So, we're jumping ahead 200 years in the Alien timeline.
Yes.
Now, it's not even the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, it's
the United Systems Military.
Yeah, some bullshit military organized force. Fucking who gives a crap?
Yeah, because Walmart bought Weyland-Yutani.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the future.
And that is in Joss Whedon's script.
Yep.
I haven't finished it, but I did start reading it before we did this. And that is in there.
But basically, it's just Weyland-Yutani under a different name.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no difference. It's another evil paramilitary corporate unit entity trying to use xenomorphs for biological weapons or cures to medicines, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They want it for their own personal gain. And guess what? They can't control the alien once they unleash it.
Yeah.
Same setup as the last few.
Yeah. The big difference here is, as you might have heard if you haven't seen the movie, you notice we mentioned Sigourney Weaver is in it. As we just said, she died at the end of Alien 3.
And it wasn't an ambiguous death. That bitch fell into a pool of lava.
Yeah, she fell into a fucking, pool of lava after an alien...
there's no, Monty Python, she's getting better. No, every cell in her body is fucking melted.
Yeah. And in the theatrical cut, an alien bursts out of her chest before she falls in there anyway.
Yeah, in mid-fall, she has a chest burst, too. So it's she's really dead now.
She's super fucking dead. So they clone her. They bring her back.
Yeah.
For Alien Resurrection, they have cloned her from some frozen DNA on Fury 161 or whatever it is, 200 years in the future, and... They've cloned her with the purpose of extracting the alien queen from her.
And that's where I was out. I was instantly out as soon as they said that. Because how does cloning someone else's cells also put an alien in that clone's chest?
She had an alien in her body by the time she was at the prison planet.
It doesn't make any fucking sense.
There's no logic to it.
There's none. I'm all for leaps of faith when you watch movies. But that was just, I was out. I was instantly out.
You can get around it with just whatever sci-fi future technology bullshit. And it's weird because...
That's usually my argument. But no.
It's weird because, like, yeah, that's fucking stupid, but then they also go to, like, lengths to explain other parts. Like, she's slowly, like, regaining her memories from her past life, even though she's a clone. And they're like, they even make a point. It's like, well, how does she have memories? That doesn't make sense. She's a clone. And it's like, oh, it's a byproduct of the alien DNA mixing with hers. So it's cellular memory or something. Mm-hmm. And which is weird because it's like, why are you trying to explain that when there's just so many other fucking gaping potholes in this?
Yeah, and like because they're trying to convince the audience, no, this is Ripley. Ripley is back. And it's weird that they're trying to make that argument because she is nothing like Ripley. As much as I just complained about Ripley in Alien 3, wonderful character compared to her in this movie.
Yeah, basically the progression of her character is now she basically has, like, superpowers, and she acts really fucking weird and almost cat-like around aliens.
Yeah.
Like,
and Winona Ryder.
At least in Alien 3, like, it didn't feel like Ripley from Aliens, but you can also believe, like, someone who's been through this shit would be that fucking depressed.
Yeah, like, it's, don't get me wrong, like, Ripley in Alien 3 is, like, disappointing to me, but it's not really wrong, per se. Like, she still has hints of moxie and, like, problem solving.
That's a very good way of summing it up. Yeah, disappointing. Yeah. But believable.
Yeah, exactly. This movie, it's a completely different character. Literally. She's a clone, completely different character. And because, like, Joss Whedon's idea of, like, strong, empowered characters is literally give them superpowers. And it's, like, so annoying.
But man, can she throw a basketball?
She can. She really did that.
Yeah. Even Ron Perlman was impressed.
Yep. Yeah. They had to cut away quick because Hellboy broke character and was like, holy shit. You know?
The scene we're talking about, there's, for whatever fucking reason, she's playing basketball. Now, let's introduce a bit more of the plot before we get to this.
Of course.
So, this paramilitary organization clones Ripley, gets the alien out of it, and then they hire a bunch of mercenaries to come and bring them a bunch of stolen cryotubes. For whatever reason. They don't explain it to the mercenaries at the time, but it turns out they got the queen out, they're harvesting the eggs, and now they're using the facehuggers that are hatching the eggs to
latch onto the cargo and create more aliens.
But create more aliens. That's the whole by and large of it. But because they think it's interesting and they want to study her, they decide to keep Ripley alive too, but they just keep her in prison. And so the plot basically starts up when the aliens break out while the mercenaries are on board and they're all hanging out. But the scene we were talking about before was Ripley just hanging out playing basketball, and then
that's how she meets
and our plucky group of mercenaries meet her.
God. Yeah, Ron Perlman just swags on over and immediately puts the moves on her. Natch, yeah. And then, she does the whole, like, female empowerment thing where she bounces the ball and hits him in the nuts. Like,
yeah.
So now we have, like, nutshot jokes in the Alien franchise.
Yes.
Thank God.
And I felt like that was the one thing Ridley Scott was lacking in his movie.
Yeah. But anyway, she, like, walks back and then, like, she's got her back to the hoop and she, like, throws the basketball behind her head and sinks, like, all net with it.
Yeah, I had fucking Escape from LA flashbacks. What is it with, like, sequels to, like, decent movies? Like, just, like, horrible sequels where they're like, let's have our hero fucking play basketball. What is that? Why do they keep doing that?
What was it, 97? I'm not a sports guy. Was Michael Jordan big then? Space Jam out? I don't know.
Probably.
Maybe.
Whatever.
That's my theory.
This fucking
movie. Let's just get into the tone and the direction of this film because it's so different. So we talk about how jarring Alien 3 was in terms of its tone, how it had a much more like despair-heavy feel, everything's shitty and everything's bad. This basically turns the Alien franchise into schlock.
Yeah, they hire
action movie, over the top, in your face schlock.
Yeah, they hired an art house like French film director. What is it, Jean-Pierre Jeunet? Was that his name?
Yeah, the guy did Amélie.
Yeah, and like he didn't want to do it, and they were like, "No, come on, do it." And then
I think his reasoning was like, "Well, I'll just treat it as a commercial.
Yeah,
like they'll pay me, and I'll do what they want, and I'll be done with it." And he actually really likes how the film turned out, which is hilarious.
Yeah, because he's an insane Frenchman. He said, "I'm just going to treat it like one long commercial. Just going to make this for them and collect a paycheck."
Yeah.
Yep. And it's like,
I guess Brett Ratner was busy that
week.
But boy, oh boy,
what a nerdy but apt joke.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
It's jarring. Like, I can only imagine seeing this like in the theaters because I first started watching the theatrical cut, and the intro is like this really really cool looking like peach colored like it's gross.
I'm going to disagree with you on the cool looking, but continue.
But it's like,
but I will say it's like better than the director's.
Well, it looks like horror movie stuff, and then the movie is not horror movie. Yeah. But then then I was like, oh wait, they have the director's cut, so I'll watch that instead. So I turned it off, turned on the director's cut, and I was shocked, but also it fit the movie way better.
Yeah, you were like, I had no idea this was going to have the same opening as Men in Black.
Yeah. Where like a really bad CG bug lands somewhere and a guy squishes it.
Yeah.
Then, like,
well, it's like there's the fake out thing where it's like an alien's mouth like hissing and then the camera pulls back and realizes it's just this tiny ass bug. Yeah. And some guy just squishes it.
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's a really bad dumb scene that's actually perfectly fitting for the tone and everything this movie's going to establish. But just... oh god, the tone and what it's doing, it's so dumb and bad. Like cameras will like point guns directly at the camera. There's a scene where like Winona Ryder's getting drunk and trying to like lift up a whiskey can with her boxing gloves on, and then like she knocks it over and Ron Perlman makes fun of her, so she literally throws the boxing gloves at the camera. And it's just...
oh, yeah, that looks horrible.
It's so in your face and over the top.
Or that, like, CGI grenade shot.
Oh, God, it's so bad. And, like, there's one scene where the military people are, like, holding up the mercenaries because... oh, God, I don't even want to explain it because it's so dumb. Basically, they're being held up, and one of the characters has guns attached to his wrist that pop out. He's like, drop the guns! Drop the guns! He's like, I can't, they're attached to me. He's like, I don't care, man, drop them. And then he looks up and sees that, like, the lights on the ceiling are kind of slanted. So he shoots in the air, like, directly in the air. The bullets ricochet and then hits the guard behind him in the head.
Yeah, and as ridiculous as that is, you forgot to mention that through gritted teeth, before he does it, he goes, smash! Like, that's his line of time. And you're like, what the fuck are we watching?
Like, there's literally a scene where an alien comes up behind, I forget the character's name, the head of the military in the movie. The dude with the massively hairy arms.
Carla's husband from Cheers.
There we go. Carla's husband from Cheers. Oh, God. Let me just explain this scene, because just explaining it is so fucking stupid. Everyone's trying to escape on the escape pods, right? And they're launching out. But then there's one where an alien gets into and just massacres everyone inside it. So, is he a general or whatever?
Yeah, General Perez.
Yeah, General Perez throws a grenade into the escape pod, and then it salutes it as it launches off, and then it explodes with the soldiers inside and the alien. And as he still has the salute up, another alien sneaks up behind him and shoots out his proboscis, basically braining him. Yeah. But it doesn't stop there in mid-salute. He stops the salute, reaches his hand back, pulls out a little bit of his brain, and then looks at it.
Yeah. And it's unbelievably dumb. But why don't you bring that up? Can we just talk for a second? So, like, the only part of this movie that could have been remotely interesting to me is seeing what would happen when the corporation or the military or whatever gets a hold of aliens and what they would be interested in doing with them. They don't touch on this at all in this movie. They have, like, 3 fucking aliens in a room. And then as soon as the aliens escape, they decide to abandon ship. And it's baffling, too, because the ship, automatically courses its way back to fucking Earth. And, like, the first sign of trouble, all the army guys are like, we gotta bounce. Yeah. And it's like there were like 3 aliens.
There's so many problems with this. Like, the whole thing about aliens where, like, they're killing the shit out of all the aliens, blow them away. They're on a planet. They don't have to worry about the acidic blood melting into stuff. This one, they're on a spaceship. There's no repercussions for blowing away the aliens. There's one scene where it's like, oh, we stand above the hole, we can't open fire. But there's plenty of other scenes where, like, the aliens will be running around the hallways and they'll blow it apart. And it's like, oh, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. This won't melt through the hole. Fuck it. Yeah. There's so many half-baked ideas in this. And
I completely agree with what you're saying. One like, excuse that, like, James Cameron said in, like, a Starlog magazine for, like, how the acidic blood was even, like, a little more timid in his movie was that, like, it was because the alien was so young in, like, Alien. And to be fair, in Alien, we don't even see the xenomorph bleed, really. We just see the facehugger bleed acidic blood, but it was, like, because it was so young, it's, like, acidic blood is more potent because it's more vulnerable. And I'm like, yeah, I can buy that excuse, whatever. So, like, I'll let it slide, but you're right. Like, there's only one smidgen of tension with that at all in this movie. It's just really...
Plus, like, Ripley has this acidic blood. She's using that like it's a fucking bat, like, utility belt.
That's such a nice
MacGuffin.
She needlessly uses it to open a door at one point. I don't know, frying... I don't know.
Yeah. Like, she fried the circuits, and I was like, how did she know that was going to open that door and not the door that the aliens were trying to get
just,
through?
like prevent the door from ever opening again.
Okay, there's one more scene I have to talk about just because of how... Well, it's two scenes. They lead together, but... Oh my god, just this movie, oh my god.
It's fucking stupid.
It's like, it's one of those, like, you watching and you're just like, I can't even sort of thing.
Yeah.
Where they think they can domesticate the aliens and train them. And this scene, this is where just, like, the really weird French, quirky, dumb shit comes out in full force. Where the one, basically, mad scientist, whatever the fuck you want to call the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad Dourif's character.
Yeah, Brad Dourif's character. He's behind plexiglass, and there's an alien in the other room contained. And he, like, goes up and starts, like, making out with the mirror as the alien presses his face against it, too. And then the alien starts getting violent, so he presses the button that, like, zaps it with, like, some cryo-freeze bullshit. And then the alien stops, and then, like, it starts getting angry again, and he hovers his hand over the button, and he's like, ho, I can teach you. You learn fast.
Yeah.
And that's also just really dumb, bad, and cringy. But then there's another scene where the aliens escape, and then a guard goes in to see, like, what happened to the aliens? And the fucking alien is now on the other side of the glass and uses his proboscis to hit the guard with the freeze spray, and he freezes and dies.
Yeah.
Like,
Again, schlocky.
This is the level of, like, what has come of this franchise.
What? God, it's just, and it's got some real Joss Whedon-y, like, all of the, like, scientists and military guys are so fucking cartoonishly evil and ridiculous. They're all big jokes of characters. I think a lot of, like, the like, crew of the Betty, like, the mercenaries are, like, a template for, like, what became a Firefly. Because Ron Perlman just plays Jane Cobb from Firefly in this movie. Except for, like, meaner and more afraid of spiders, I guess. But I don't know, like...
That whole mercenary group was, like... I actually cared about characters in the first two movies, and even from their first introduction, I was like, I don't give a fuck.
Outside of Winona Ryder and Ron Perlman, there's zero characterizations for them. It's like, oh, this guy just talks gruff. Oh, this chick has a really nice ass. This guy has dreadlocks and guns on his shoulder. This guy's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, that's their characterization.
And I just love, like, they made a point to have, like, early on, like, the first scene you see him in is, like, the head of the mercenaries and his girlfriend or whatever, like, they were being all, like, sexual towards each other, like, trying to show that they loved each other. And then he, spoiler alert, gets killed, like, in a terrible, horrible,
such a stupid scene.
way.
Yeah.
And then, like, she happens upon him, and there's no emotion. Like,
yeah, she seemed
like, you had the setup.
She was a little upset, and it's almost like they just...
But later she was. Like, not right away.
Yeah.
Like, they forgot that was in the script. Like, we forgot she was supposed to care. It's... You're right. Like, the only ones that have any characterization in that group are Ron Perlman, because he plays the jerk, and Winona Ryder, who just, like, whines throughout the entire movie.
Okay, so, like, Winona Ryder can be a good actress. She's been okay in certain things. She is fucking terrible in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, at first I was watching, I was like, wow, she's not good. But by the end of it, it's like, she is fucking bad.
Yeah, she's horrible in this movie, and I'm not being one of those people that, like, shits on her as an actress. I actually really liked her work in Stranger Things, the season of that I watched. I don't think she's terrible. I do think she's bad in this movie. But I also think that the character is bad, because every scene that she has is just, here's where you complain. And that's it. Like, and it's so illogical. Like, first she was going to kill Ripley, and then she's like, I guess there's no point. And then Ripley wants to escape the ship, and then she's like, we can't trust her. She was a host for these things. She's one of them. And it's like, why?
I don't get how she knows all the information she knows either.
Because it's convenient for the plot.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
She's some underground, like, I don't know, freedom fighter robot. Spoiler alert, she's also a robot. Who gives a shit?
That's another thing that infuriated me too. There's a scene where they just underneath the whole underwater set piece where they're trying to escape, and surprise, surprise, the evil scientist guy, like, turns the tables on him and pulls a gun and shoots Winona Ryder's character in the chest. and then she falls down into the water.
Mhm.
And it hadn't been revealed yet that she was a synthetic or android or robot, whatever the hell they're calling in this movie. But also on rewatch, it's like, she doesn't feel pain. Why'd she just fall over? Like,
Yeah.
she should have just like stood there taking it and then like broke his arm.
Yeah. You know,
This movie makes no sense.
fucking Ash wouldn't have been a
It was
chump
all
about
part of her plan, guys.
No.
She knew.
Stu, and it's like really depressing that like that evil scientist guy is played by the late great J.E. Freeman, who plays the Dane in Miller's Crossing, which is like a great movie and a great character, and he is so ridiculous in this. God, everyone is such a fucking joke in this movie. And I'm gonna, while we're at it, later in the movie, in the third act, they introduce a new monster called the Newborn that is like part human, part alien DNA, and it is my least favorite part of this movie. I fucking hate that creature so much.
It looks so bad.
Even as a like kid, like, because while we're talking about it, like, Alien Resurrection is not the worst movie I've ever seen. I think it actually has some pretty good visual effects, and it's like kind of a fun, schlocky movie that I enjoyed watching on my VHS copy as a kid.
Like, I think I told you earlier today, like, the best way to watch it would be, like, with some beers with your friends if you want something to laugh at in the background but not pay too much attention to.
Yeah.
I know I was on my phone a lot during this
I was
movie
like the
because-
entire time.
Holy shit.
So, that being said, though, even when I was like, I don't know, 11 years old or whatever, and I would watch this movie, like, fairly regularly, could never stand the Newborn. It is
it's terrible.
the most like, and they do that thing where they like tried to make it sympathetic, where they give it like big
Sad
wimpy pussy eyes and like, and I hate it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't do like it. I don't feel any sympathy for that thing. It makes me want it to die more whenever it like
And
makes
there's
like
like
sad
no
sounds.
point for anything it does. It just like smashes and eats people's brains.
Yeah.
Because why not?
It kills fucking Tuco.
It kills the mother, like the alien queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
I mean,
no, like just cause I guess.
just because it'd be cool.
Yeah.
It was hard puppeteer work, and then also be like, why did Ripley kill the queen?
It kills. The only person that it likes is Ripley, and the only person that likes it is Ripley, and I don't feel bad for either one of them.
Yeah.
When it gets slurped out the fucking hole in the window.
That scene was insane.
Yeah.
So, spoilers for the dramatic climax of the film.
Yeah, it's so dramatic.
Yeah, they're on the escape ship, and then it turns out the Newborn's on it too and kills Tuco, and then Ripley confronts it, and then she uses, like, her acid blood again to blow a hole in the window that sucks the Newborn out through it, and basically it's a tiny hole and the whole body gets sucked through it, but it's just so stupidly over the top with the gore.
Oh, yeah.
Like, its skin starts peeling back, it shows it's like... Its guts, it's so stupid. The guts fall out of it forward, all over the fucking floor, and then the suction pulls it back in out through its head.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's so fucking dumb.
Keep coming back to its sad face.
Yeah, look-
and Ripley's sad face. Like, who's this an emotional moment for?
Like,
Who gives a fuck?
God.
it's so goddamn dumb. Oh my goodness.
Alien Resurrection, it's even more depressing to think, like, this is part of why when you say, oh, fuck Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5, I'm like, what damage could it possibly do? Because technically, in chronological order, this is the last story in the Alien universe. And it is just so dumb. We're going to do, when we get to part 3 and we talk about Covenant and Prometheus, this is the low point of all 6 movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For a franchise that does have 6 movies, I have to say, like, none of them are, like, completely horrible. They don't fall into, like, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, horrible schlock. But this movie is the lowest point.
Yeah. It is just... in every way, it just grinds against everything the other films do.
Yeah.
On all the wrong levels.
You wonder, like, Aliens, we said, like, has that, like, 80s action movie kind of schlock to it. Like, so there is, like, schlock in it.
No, it's
like,
perfect.
It's perfect, but no, it's like, it fits.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just this, like, I don't know,
Aliens
like,
still managed to stay grounded and, like, suspenseful
like,
throughout.
it doesn't show you that, like, your group of Marines are a bunch of ragtag rowdy characters by playing, like, a rock music montage to introduce them.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon is not a subtle screenwriter, because that is in his script.
Yeah.
And it's Alien Resurrection is not a subtle movie.
Well, what's so infuriating about it too is like Josh Whedon, since the movie was so poorly received, as it should have been, as it is and absolutely deserves to be. He was like, "Oh, everything like the script is the same as what I wrote. The dialogue's the same as what I wrote. It's just the delivery of everything is just not what it's supposed to be. I had such better ideas. The tone was supposed to be all different. It was supposed to be more in line with like Serenity or something. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? This movie is already a big joke.
Yeah,
like
the idea that it should be funnier. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Joss Whedon, but I'm not like. I actually like Firefly. I like Serenity. There's like a time and place for this stuff. Not in this universe.
No, absolutely not. I think there's one big scene that stuck out to me. I forget the character's name, the one in the wheelchair, where the alien is like above him in the vents, and he like has the time to like assemble his shotgun that he's smuggled in on his wheelchair and shoots it up to kill the alien, and like the blood slowly like drips down. And also, they make a running gag out of him not being able to feel anything in his legs. Yeah. Where, like, early in the movie, Ron Perlman throws a knife and hits him in the leg and he doesn't notice.
And then does, like, a monkey impression.
He does weird, quirky Frenchness, I guess. But then there's another scene where, like, the acid drips down, hits his leg, and he doesn't notice. But then, like, another drip comes down, hits his ear, and he starts screaming wildly. And I'm just thinking, like, the most dangerous life form in the entire universe is now just this.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. It's a little bit of a depressing movie. More so than Alien 3, where you're like, at least Alien 3 has some kind of merit.
Yeah. Like, and Ripley's, like, her characterization, like, at the beginning of the movie, she's, like, an infant. Like, she's, like, she can barely, like, the Josh Whedon joke, she thinks the word for fork is fuck. Isn't that funny? and then literally after that scene, she starts speaking in full sentences and can interact fine with other humans. She's not an infant. Like, what is this? What am I watching?
I don't know. It's just so fucking schlocky. And like, I remember there's like a part in the movie where like Ripley like falls through the floor and she's in like the alien orgy thing later, and then when she gets back, there's like the cheesy line of dialogue and delivery where like Ron Perlman is like, "Hey, Ripley's back," and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Because I will say, I liked the shot of her falling into that.
That was actually
it looked cool and it fit like the brand of Alien. I was like, that looks kind of creepy, and I wanted more of that.
And the effects in this movie look better than Alien 3.
Definitely. Well, I mean, it's also a much more effects-heavy film than that.
Yeah. Alien 3 had that like rod puppet that they just filmed against like a blue screen, and like. Props for the effort, props pun. Credit for the effort, but then like when you like impose it back into like the actual footage, it just doesn't match up.
Yeah. True. Like the underwater segment in this one, like that actually still looks really fun.
Yeah, it looks good, but I remembered like in my head, I remember liking that sequence where I was like, "This is cool." Now I just like I rewatched it and I was like, "No, it's just a cool idea. It's a really boring sequence."
Yeah.
Well. And this movie cements kind of that whole like Hitchcockian like Jaws, like seeing the monster so much makes it so less scary. Like I was seeing it so much in this movie. It's like this isn't scary. It's just like seeing some CG mess.
The aliens are no longer a threat in this. I feel like more so than in all the films before them. There's points where they're just like used as a punchline to things happening. It defangs one of the most intense movie monsters ever to just a joke at points.
Yeah. It just doesn't work.
Nope. Okay, so we've kicked the shit out of it for a lot. Was there anything about this movie you guys thought did work?
I like some of the effects, and I think they could have maybe done something interesting with like what the military was going to do with these things, like what that was going to play out as. But no, like it's not.
But no,
it's not a good movie.
It's a dumb movie.
Yeah,
and I think it's hard to read like authorial intent with these type of things, but it feels like this is the movie that it was meant to be.
Yeah,
like they want it to be this way, and for what it's trying to be, it accomplishes that. But it's not something any of us want.
Yeah, it feels like. Like with Alien 3, it feels like the studio wanted to remake Alien. And then with Alien Resurrection, they wanted to remake Aliens.
Well, that's what they said. They wanted the horror of Alien with the action of Aliens.
Yes.
And it's neither of those on any level.
The horror in this movie, like, I don't even know.
It's what they did to the franchise.
Yeah, it's just so, like, who besides Sigourney Weaver cares about, like, the physical relationship that people have with xenomorphs? It's so weird, like... none of it is like even creepy. It's just goofy and dumb.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
Even like
there's
like
no action-packed moments. Like it's.
Well, there's a scene where Ron Perlman hangs upside down from a ladder, shooting wildly at a xenomorph hanging off the dude the dreadlocks foot.
Yeah, Christie, I believe is his name.
Christie's
the guy who can ricochet bullets off of anything throughout the movie,
except that one scene there.
Yeah, except for the one scene where he can't hit the alien that has his foot.
Yeah, that's directly below him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ron Perlman can curve bullets around them to hit the alien directly below them.
That was very thoughtful of him. I mean, he's Hellboy after all. But, I guess the only thing I like about this, like, I mean, it's fun watching Ron Perlman, even though, like, I mean, his character is, like, such a jerk. But I like Ron Perlman. He's fun to watch.
I think it's funny that for both of these movies, you said that no one asked for either of these stories.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't.
Just it seems like
one of them is way worse than the other.
Exactly, and especially with Resurrection, it seems like on paper a lot of it is just like typical blockbuster escalation of bullshit.
Yeah.
In the fact that now it has to be set in the future. Now it's like crazy future technology. It's like we can't just have a normal alien running around. There has to be something bigger. So now we have the newborn. And now it's like, the queen now, she's perfect. She can reproduce on her own and doesn't need humans as hosts. So it's like,
But it's funny, like, when you compare the look of, like, I don't get the logic of the newborn. Because when you compare the look of the newborn to the way the aliens look, like, the newborn's clunky. It's not a more dangerous animal.
No,
like, it's born like a human is born. So that means you only get, like, one. Whereas, like, you get millions if you lay the eggs.
Well,
like,
I know.
The xenomorph is such a more threatening.
It was so up its own ass. Like, this is the perfect organism.
Yeah.
Now it's the more perfect organism because it was already perfect.
Bastardized.
Yeah, it just looks like a fucking grosser, lumpier pumpkin head.
Yeah, they just wanted to make it look more human, and it actually kind of bums me out because I guess there was like a lot of designs in Alien 3 for what that should have looked like, and one of them was for a sleeker, more human-esque xenomorph that didn't have the spines on its back.
Oh, and it had like the human lips.
It had human lips, but like instead of having the proboscis that like shot out, like it
had a tongue.
It had a tongue, so it basically like tongue fucked the guts out of somebody and like spat them all over the place, which would have been so much better than the newborn.
It would have been better than the newborn, but again,
it would have been ridiculously weird.
Yeah.
But I will have to say, I am eternally grateful that even the director of this movie, the original design for the newborn is it had a massive ball sack, like one that like basically drooped down to his knees, and it also had a vagina between its nuts.
Yeah, I thought it had like a combination of both.
Yeah.
And they decided to.
Even the director was like, that might actually be a bit much.
Yeah. We might have overdone this one.
Like, you know what? This is one time I'll be like, scale back, guys.
Yeah, the one time.
Should have scaled back this whole movie.
And God, can I just say the ending scene? So it's so stupid. They're like, we have to redirect the ship. Like, don't want to get back to Earth, and these aliens run amok. So they end up just crashing the ship back onto Earth, but it's such like a stupidly gigantic, over-the-top explosion. They wiped out like 3 countries.
Yeah.
It was...
And I don't understand how they didn't want it to get to Earth, but their solution was to crash land Earth. I was so confused by that.
Doesn't make any sense. And at that point, if you're going to crash land, like... I mean, what?
Crash it in the ocean or something.
Yeah, crash it into the ocean. Sacrifice yourselves. Just fucking... What would happen if you landed on, like, an island? What are they going to do? I mean, how long can they swim for? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why are we trying to apply logic to a movie that opens with a fucking clone? Fuck it. God, this is a dumbass movie.
Oh my God. Didn't they have that, like, scene where Ripley was in that, like, sack for some reason?
There's so many weird
metaphor for something.
There's a lot of really dumb, bad birth metaphors in this film.
Yeah. See, I wanted the birth metaphors of Alien and the fun and whimsy of Aliens. Miss.
But I don't want to write a story that will fit those in it.
No. It was too late in the game. They should have just stopped. So that being said, next time we'll talk about the 2 more that they made from this franchise. We'll get to Michael Kemp's personal
Best
favorite,
one.
Prometheus.
Hell yeah.
And then the one that came out like last year,
It's fine.
Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
But I can say I enjoy both of those movies more than Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
As do I.
I do not recommend Alien Resurrection.
I think if you've never seen it, it's worth the watch.
No.
Just for a schlocky,
I
dumb
think,
gore ride.
yeah, I would agree with that. It could
I
be.
don't.
It's a fun schlock film.
If you don't I think this comes back to like kind of how you said Alien 3, if you don't consider it an Alien movie, it's a lot better. This one, if you definitely try not to consider it an Alien movie, just consider it like a dumb monster in space, action, horror, romp, even horror. God, I hate using that term to describe this film. There can be some enjoyment derived out of it,
Yeah.
but it's very much a casual viewing.
Yeah, it's like something where you have a bunch of friends over, like you said, and you have some drinks, and you don't feel like watching Batman and Robin again, but you want to watch something that level, like bad, then
Yeah.
Alien Resurrection is the equivalent, you know? Like,
It is. That's an apt description.
yeah. So, any other, what else to say?
Part where that guy had the chest burster come out of his. So apparently chest bursters give you like superpowers. In this
Yeah,
too,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
pretty sick. We didn't even talk about that. So one of the characters in the film, he's one that quote unquote survived up to the point that was impregnated by a facehugger, and he's literally just there to be used as a plot device at the end of it. When the evil government scientist guy comes in to try to hijack the ship at the end.
For some, like, I don't know, that guy's so cartoonishly evil.
Because they would have told on him on Earth where
Yeah.
everything's fucked anyways, but it doesn't matter. He shoots the guy that's infected with the chest burster, but then he gets up and starts charging at him because he's got to get Winona's right head. But instead of like keeping her as a hostage, he throws Winona right to the side and empties the clip on the guy with the chest burster. And he's still coming at him, and it's like, okay, maybe adrenaline rush, he's still alive. But no, he like starts punching him, like flips him on the ground, like it's a fight that goes on for like a solid minute and a half after this guy's been shot like 8 times, and it ends with a camera shot that like zooms down his throat into like his esophagus to like the alien inside of him, and then it proceeds to burst out through his chest and then through the skull of the guy that was holding the hostage. And it basically just sums up everything dumb and over the top about this film.
Yeah, you would think that after that guy getting shot a bunch of times, he wouldn't keep running at you and fighting you because his insides would be filling up with acid because the alien would have gotten shot too. But
and even that, like they're in the middle of the ship, an escape pod, and then they just blow the hell out of the little alien anyways. And it's like, oh, it's not going to be the whole fuck it. That doesn't matter now.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
So yeah,
logic.
Alien Resurrection, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
WolfPunch.